Reflecting on American Studies 350. I would first like to reflect on my work and overall engagement with this class this semester. I would say that I did a pretty good job being on top of my tasks for this class. It did require more work and time than some of my other classes, but I did not mind the research, watching the lecture videos, doing the readings, and creating my projects. I thought that many of the California history issues, including migrant stories or about resources found in California, were eye-opening. As I was learning more about immigrants and minorities' struggles they faced in California or all the hard work people put in to develop California, I became more thankful of my current situation in California. I realized that the life I have now and the things I get access to are available to me because of the people in the past, including my family. While some of the stories gone over in this class were familiar to me, a lot of topics were also very new to me. I am most proud of creating the California History of Oats video because I was able to advance my editing skills and learn a little bit more about oats. The editing, scripting, and researching were the oat video were for the oat video took a whole day, but I enjoyed the process. To be honest, I was not a fan of the readings. California by Star or Slouching Towards Bethlehem were a little harder to read since I didn't understand the background and the author's writing styles didn't sink in easily. To help me understand the context better, I did research. I did search up online summaries for those books. In regards to the forum posts, it helped me expand and apply some of the ideas mentioned in the lecture videos and readings. It allowed me to carefully pay attention to the documentaries and readings so that I can thoroughly express my ideas on the forum posts. I was also able to read classmates' posts and relate them to my own ideas. The topics I found interesting were California stereotypes, building railroads, the gold rush, Japanese internment camps, economic development of California, and the unheard stories of discrimination against different minorities in California. Although the TED Talks were not about California culture, I can say that some of the life lessons learned from the TED Talks I could remember from this class in years to come. I learned that to practice good listening skills, you have to receive, appreciate, summarize, ask, and listen consciously. I learned that there are 6 major self-care categories to pay attention to, which are physical, psychological, emotional, spiritual, relational, and professional to live a good quality life. Lastly, I can recall the 5-second rule from a TED Talk where you have 5 seconds to tell yourself to get going. The 5-second rule method is something I can keep in mind on a day-to-day basis. Going on to prompt number 2, which is reflecting back on the specific themes of California from this course. In my opinion, California was a place of unlimited opportunity, but also a place of segregation and invisible barriers. From my own experience, I don't feel like there is as much segregation in society as before, but it's definitely still not a perfect society in the present days. The racial tensions nowadays happen every now and then, but not as severe as the past. California is still a place with unlimited opportunity even to this day. There are many ways in which California has served as a place for new ideas and opportunities, but also a place where undesirable segregation has occurred. I can point out one example of immigrants who came to California for opportunity but were excluded from the society. The story of Chinese immigrants from southern China was portrayed in the documentary The Frontier in the West. The Chinese immigrants came to the West hoping to get rich, find opportunity, and make enough to share some of the prosperity back home. The Chinese immigrants worked hard that some of the major economic developments in California were contributed by them. They helped build the Transcontinental Railroad in the 1860s. They also mined for gold, built temples, and ran restaurant businesses in San Francisco, which in turn developed the California economy. The invisible barriers created during this time was from the fact that the Chinese miners were treated unfairly compared to the American people. They were charged foreigner miner tax, given harsh working conditions, and were paid less than their counterparts. There was even a discriminatory law against the racial group called the Chinese Exclusion Act, which banned Chinese from entering the United States for nearly a century. There was a similar situation that occurred to the Mexican farmers. It was similar in a sense that they dealt with terrible working conditions, with unpaid vacations, and low pay. Their salary was on average $2,500 a year and around $2 a day. The United Farm Workers Movement in 1962 helped improve working conditions, altered to higher wages, and they were able to receive paid vacation days. Japanese internment camps was another example of racial division that happened in 1942. Japanese Americans were all seen as suspects in World War II, which left 120,000 Japanese Americans to be forced to sell their homes and live in isolation for 3 years. They faced racial obstacles, hostility, and segregation. A way that California served as a place for new ideas was building a standard education system that set off an example for the rest of the nation. The baby boom during 1945 to 1964 encouraged California to design quality higher education in order to broaden the middle class population. California served as a place for counterculture in the 1960s. They were called hippies who wanted to enjoy new styles, experience drugs, and live a simple and good life. They opposed societal norms and war. They were able to express their anti war messages through music and anti war protests. When there's a land that brings together settlers with different backgrounds, cultures, and ethnicities, perfect equality is difficult to achieve. It is inevitable that people who are different can naturally be looked down upon, mistreated, or be tied to certain stereotypes. It is common for these issues to arise, especially when the demographic of a community is disproportionate. On the positive side, when a community is diverse, there can be an increased amount of acceptance, and the people tend to be innovative and open to new ideas. The many human rights and movement and the activists who spoke up led up to an improved society and alleviated some of the racial tensions that used to exist. The last prompt, number three, CA exists on map and imagination. I believe that California exists on both the map and imagination. California exists on the United States map in the West Coast, but there are many stereotypes that exist that take part in people's imagination. In people's imagination, California is a place where everyone is crazy for vegan food, loves surfing, super friendly people, there are lots of super friendly people, loves Mexican food, or doesn't know how to deal with snow. I think the myths of California impact our lives because people outside of California can often connect us to preconceived notions. We don't all necessarily fit the stereotypes of California. For example, all of us knowing how to surf. The myths can impact our lives because outsiders can have certain expectations that may not be true to everyone. If California is shared through a story, the story would include the major events that led to California today. California became part of the United States in 1847. The gold rush happened in 1848, which inspired immigrants to settle in the West. The gold rush was beginning of was the beginning of the state's economic development. The gold rush brought immigrants from different countries, which was the start to the diversification of the state. Due to people coming in with a wide range of skills and knowledge, they were able to use the resources in California to make more services available, leading to attracting more settlers. Because a variety of ethnic groups reside in the same land, there was often injustice among the diverse population. California went through many changes involving movements to better people's opportunities. It also became a place where people are open to new ideas. Therefore, no matter what your background is, chances are you'll find your niche somewhere in the state. That was the end of my presentation. Thank you for the attention. Thank you for the semester.